Funding for this program was not provided by Watchung Hills. This program was originally recorded in 2015. Although the times experience constant change, the basic economic principles presented here remain relevant. This is Economics Watchung Hills, one of a series of programs designed to explore the 21st century micro and macroeconomic principles. The subject of this edition is currency, specifically the Swiss franc and the foreign exchange market. Please welcome today's guests, Frank and Eunice.
Hello, I'm Frank. Thank you for tuning in. Switzerland is a landlocked country in Central Europe. Unlike many other nations in Europe, Switzerland is not part of the European Union, nor does it use their currency, known as the euro.
Gosh, Frank, you're missing out so much. This is Eunice, by the way.
In Switzerland, we use our own currency, known as the Swiss franc. It is very stable and lots of people want to have our currency.
Oh, stability, like staples.
No, Eunice. Because everyone wants to deposit their money in our stable banks, the value of the franc increases.
Can you explain?
Today, we have what is called the foreign exchange market. It is composed of flexible exchange rates affected by buying and selling between countries, and supply and demand for currency. In other words, for our concern, when a country has goods that are considered cheaper, the demand for its currency increases because the other countries want to purchase these cheap goods. Supply for it decreases in the foreign market and the currency appreciates, or increases in value. When the demand for the franc increases, the value of the franc is worth more in comparison to the euro.
Oh, right. There were times during which our currency was relatively stable, but the euro plummeted. The European Union was dealing with a debt crisis and printed a lot of money. And when we overprinted money, the value of our money went down.
And everyone was depositing money into our bank, so the value of our money went up.
That's good news for you, right?
Well, not exactly.
I just don't understand. What happened in 2011 when the Swiss National Bank decided to depreciate the franc? Why would they want to stop such a good thing? Isn't that great to have a currency that's worth a lot?
When our franc was worth a lot, our exports were affected. When our franc was worth more than the euro, people from the EU found our goods expensive and would prefer buying goods from elsewhere.
Oh, just like how America likes to import goods from China. Labors and material there are a lot cheaper.
Exactly. Switzerland is reliant on exports. We export a lot of things such as pharmaceuticals, machinery, watches, tourism, and so on.
How does the SNB devalue the franc? It can't just use magic.
So, in 2011, the SNB decided to pull a ceiling on the exchange between the franc and the euro.
A ceiling?
Yes, the SNB decided to put a cap and make the exchange between the francs and euro 1.2 francs per euro. That way, the franc would be worth less. In order to do this, they had to print out lots of money in order to buy euros.
By buying euros, the SNB created an artificial demand for the euro and made the euro worth more compared to the franc?
Yes.
And if the euro appreciates relative to the franc depreciates?
Yes.
Now people outside of Switzerland want to buy Swiss goods because they aren't as expensive anymore?
That's exactly right.
So now you know why the franc was artificially depreciated back in 2011, but recently things have changed once again.
In January 2015, the SNB decided to remove the ceiling.
They wanted to change it back to the way it was?
No, they didn't, but they didn't have a choice.
The SNB depreciated the franc because it helped Swiss business with the exports. Why did they stop depreciating the franc?
Depreciating the franc was good, but it came at a huge cost. By 2015, the SNB realized that a huge portion of the Swiss budget was being spent on buying euros to depreciate the franc. At that point, they found depreciating the franc to be too expensive, so they removed the ceiling and allowed nature to run its course.
That was so sudden.
Yeah, I know, right?
Now the Swiss franc has appreciated again.
I think the S&B learned their lesson about trying to keep a good thing for too long.
And now we'll see the impacts after the S&B removed the ceiling.
Because the franc has appreciated again, my business's watches are now too expensive to export. Fewer people are willing to buy our goods.
How will this affect your profits?
Our profits are going down the toilet as I speak, and not to mention our stocks are falling as well. We're not the only business in Switzerland dealing with this. Stocks aren't doing too well, but we're hoping that the currency will stabilize in the long run.
I'm sorry to hear about your loss.
And now we'll see how the lack of ceiling affects tourism here.
Now that the franc has appreciated, tourists are going to avoid Switzerland. Things are just too expensive.
So tourism is too expensive. I see.
That's right. Hey, would you like to stay over?
I'm good, thank you.
But before you start hating on the S&B, here's a testimonial from an S&B correspondent.
Removing the ceiling was sudden, that's true. And yes, our GDP is falling at the moment, and businesses are complaining right now, but it's for the greater good. If we continue to keep it at an artificially low value for the franc, we'd end up in an economic crisis eventually with all the spending we'd have to do. So essentially, we decided to bring the pain now to prevent a greater loss in the future.
This makes a lot more sense now.
That's wonderful.
That will be all for today. Thanks for watching Economics Watchung Hills, Currency and Foreign Exchange Edition.